Hey, welcome into another Whoosh. What am I reading? Here with me, Louie. Today we're going to take a look at the 2008 Wolverine run, specifically focusing on the Old Man Logan storyline that kicked off in June of 2008. So, with that, alright, before we jump too far into this is going to be a spoiler-filled episode. I'm going to go through a lot of details with the run because it happens to be one of my favorites. So if you want to read it, I would suggest turning this off now, going back, reading it, and then coming back and watching. But if you want to get some of the details and then still go back and read it, or you have no intention to read it but you just want to find out about it, stay tuned. So just an additional disclaimer, the Old Man Logan storyline is pretty dark. There's a lot of trauma and death in it, so if that's something that may trigger you, please take that into consideration before proceeding in this video as well. That being said, just a little bit of backstory. This did help inspire the Logan movie that we saw. However, due to character rights and issues between Fox and Marvel, they had to change the story quite a bit, so a lot of it got left out. What is really cool, though, is that this run has the villains winning. That's kind of the whole premise for it, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But the villains win, and they divide up the U.S. into territories. Originally, the Abomination, Magneto, Red Skull, and Doctor Doom divide America into 4 quadrants. It's really great. Honestly, one of my favorite runs of all time. I've read it I don't know how many times now. And the good news is this counts towards the Anti-Hero Challenge. So I'm at 5 of those. This will be 6, and we'll only have 4 more to go. So, back to the story. It's so good. We kick it off with Logan working on a farm with his family, and he's actually approached by some members of the Hulk gang because the Hulk has now replaced the Abomination. They're there to collect payment from him for the property and whatnot because the Hulk runs California, and he doesn't have the money. It's interesting, and around the same time, they say they'll come back in about 2 weeks to collect the money, and they leave. It's a little bit like one of Wolverine's sons tries to fight the gang, and Wolverine's like, no. Like, it's definitely one of those, like, very, very much a depressing setting to be in. But after that, Logan is then approached by Clint Barton, who happens to still be alive. And he asks him to go deliver a package with him. He needs him to drive because he's blind and he can't see for the majority of the trip. So he asks Logan to drive. They have a spider buggy. And it's an interesting story where Logan goes, I'll drive, but I'm not fighting anybody for you. Like, I've retired the claws. Like, we're done. And you kind of get this hint that there's this very deep story with Logan going on. And it's a lot. And the story continues to go on. They start driving. They go through some, like, the Moloids burying cities. Then we go to Hawkeye, and we find out his daughter has been captured by the new Kingpin. As she put together like a superhero team. Turns out his daughter is also the granddaughter of Peter Parker because Clint married one of Peter's daughters, which, okay, cool. Future storylines, all that kind of stuff is just all wacky sometimes. But Logan and Clint try to go find her and save her. Turns out that she doesn't want to be saved, and she's not creating a superhero team. She actually wants to replace the new Kingpin, which she eventually does because they kill the new Kingpin, and now she becomes the head of that region. Bonkers. As they continue on, they end up getting chased by a T-Rex covered in a symbiote because they imported dinosaurs from the Savage Land during this, and people couldn't keep raising them, so they released them into the wild. Like I said, it's bonkers. After that, they end up being saved by Emma Frost, who's still alive and trying to help, and she's projecting this much younger version of herself to everybody, so no one knows exactly what she looks like now. And it's around like this time, I believe, that you end up finding out the backstory about Logan, which is the whole backbone of the book. it turns out that when the villains finally all organize, they all organize to attack all the superheroes at the same time. And Wolverine has the most messed up story. So it turns out that Wolverine believes like all the villains and the Brotherhood and all that are attacking the Xavier Institute, the mansion, and he tries to save everybody and warn the team. He can't find anybody from the team, so then he decides to fight all of the people themselves. And he's trying to save all the children, and it turns out he actually killed all of his teammates. I was going to say accidentally. He intentionally killed the villains. Accidentally turned out to be his teammates, though. And that was all done because Mysterio projected this illusion, and Wolverine's kind of questioning like everything the whole time, because he's like, doesn't, with the sense of smell and stuff, things aren't exactly coming through clear for him, but he knows he has to defend the children. So he goes berserk and wipes them all out. And then after this, he walks away, like he's broken, leaves the mansion, tries to kill himself with a train, like laying down on the tracks. The train runs him over. Obviously, he can't die, but he considers that the death of the Wolverine, and that's why he doesn't pop his claws anymore. Yeah, that's heavy. Kind of a lot there. It's intense, but it's a heck of a story, honestly. From there, they end up delivering Hawkeye's package to the people who were supposed to receive it. Turns out that it was all super soldier serums, and they were being delivered to what turned out to be S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, and S.H.I.E.L.D. in this universe works for the Red Skull. So obviously they're not there to do good. Red Skull kills Clint, takes the serum, thinks he kills Logan, puts Logan in like his trophy room with all like his souvenirs, including Cap's shield. And so Logan eventually heals, fights Red Skull, decapitates Red Skull with Cap's shield, never pops his claws. Ends up taking the briefcase that has all the money in it that would help pay off the Hulk gang, and steal parts of Iron Man's armor to eventually fly back to California in his farm. Gets there to pay the Hulk gang, should still have plenty of time. Finds out that the Hulk gang showed up while he was gone and killed his entire family. So when I say this is a deep and an intense story, it very much is. Yeah, it's a lot. So Logan, being Logan, decides to go find the Hulk gang. And he murders every single one of the Hulk's family along the way. Every grandchild he has, every child. Like, he just runs through them. And eventually, he gets to the Hulk. And it turns out that the Hulk says he sent them there to kill his family, to send a message. But he also reveals that he did it because he got bored doing the whole villain thing and having no one to fight. So he wanted to bring out the old Logan. Proceeds to fight Logan and eats Logan. So, he thinks he won. And then suddenly his stomach starts to hurt. And Logan, popping his claws, pops out of Hulk's stomach. And kills Hulk, finally. Hulk is dead. And Logan finds Bruce Banner Jr. there. And that happens. So it's quite a bit of story there. Yep. I don't know. He ends up walking off with Bruce Banner Jr. and says that he is going to rebuild the superheroes in the world and help take it back. So that's where that story ends. It's a lot. Some context for the Hulk, though. One of the explanations in the story is that the gamma radiation finally started to mess with Bruce's mental state, and that's part of the reason why the Hulk is the way the Hulk is by the end of the story. So just a little bit of context there. It's not like Bruce just suddenly hated Logan. Like, that's not it. It's a very, very dark story. It's amazingly well written. It's one of those stories that definitely tell you that art is emotional. Like, for a comic book, there's a lot that it packs in that I find to be very, very compelling. It's so good, and there's so much to it, and I can't recommend enough for you to go check it out if you haven't before. It's phenomenal. And like I said, I've read it I don't know how many times now, and it's easily one of my favorites. So highly, highly, highly recommend going to check it out. It's definitely something worth the time and worth the energy to go read it. So yeah, go and go check that out and let me know what you think. So otherwise, yeah, we'll catch you here next time. Thanks.